This is video number 4 from my nutrition classes. This will be minerals video number 4. I'm going to, probably go fairly quickly through magnesium and then spend a little more time on iron. Magnesium is typically like calcium and potassium. If you had to sum up which minerals are heart healthy, they usually kind of group potassium, calcium, and magnesium together. One of the reasons is magnesium is also important for muscle function. It's also important for nerve function. It may be important for immunity. It's used in a ton of different enzymes in the body, enzymatic reactions. It's also important for heart function. Magnesium can actually help with blood pressure. It can be magnesium supplements or medically can be used to help modulate blood pressure in some patients. So it does have this heart healthy connotation. I call magnesium, along with selenium and iodine and copper, the forgotten minerals. No one ever talks about magnesium. It is in a lot of foods, but you have to eat the foods that have it, and it's not as widespread as, let's say, potassium would be in most whole foods. And we know that sodium is in like all processed foods. So it does have a really important role in the body. It's just that I think Americans they don't think much about magnesium. It doesn't get the kind of coverage like sodium and potassium. For deficiency and toxicity, these are very hard to quantify in free living people. There may be people taking medications or have kidney disorders or digestive disorders where they would have these kind of extreme hallucinations, difficulty swallowing, convulsions. In free living people eating food that's fairly varied, unlikely to occur. Toxicity not from supplements or from dietary preparations for the GI tract, like milk of magnesia or something like that. Excuse me. Unlikely to occur. And then if you look at the food sources, there's not like a tremendous amount in any one time. You just have to go out of your way and eat foods that have them. I'm a big fan of nuts and seeds. Nuts and seeds are great sources of things like selenium and manganese and copper, and they happen to be a really good source of magnesium. And I think those of you who are moving away from eating a lot of animal tissue and trying to add plant proteins, you know that nuts and seeds are another good source of plant protein as well. So, and here's another good breakdown. Here's my leafy greens. Look at pumpkin seeds. They're great in bread. Excuse me. So you got to eat the foods that have them. There is no food on this chart that is at about 350, which is the RDA for magnesium. So, magnesium isn't food. You just have to eat that food that has it. And a varied diet is the way to do it. That's the way to do it. So we end up on iron, probably the most prolific nutrient on the planet other than water that is associated with deficiency. Like every human gets thirsty. That's a temporary water deficiency. 2 out of 7 billion humans may actually either have iron deficiency or simply do not have a consistent source of iron in their diet, which is kind of funny because you're thinking, well, Professor, they don't get enough meat in their diet. And meat is a fantastic source of iron, but the vast majority of people get most of their iron from plant. Breakfast cereals, leafy greens, whole grains, beans, nuts, seeds, those all are fairly good sources of iron. You just have to eat them. And 2 out of 7 billion people don't have consistent access to those foods. Now, we know iron's important for hemoglobin, carrying oxygen in the blood. It's important for a zillion enzymes in the body. It's a very chemically reactive element. So it's used in a lot of different places, making energy, your mood, your thermal regulation. So you look at the deficiencies. They all really are a result of not having enough iron. Anemia, which means you can't make as much hemoglobin, so you don't make as much red blood cells, so you don't carry as much oxygen. If you don't carry as much oxygen, how are you going to feed the body? You're going to be exhausted. You can't maintain your body temperature. You can't perform adequately in sports. And then of course toxicity of iron typically is through supplements or it's genetic. We know if it's genetic, those folks overconsume iron, so they actually have red blood cells which are darker than normal, not lighter than normal. If I can get this to work. What are your sources of iron? Plants have plenty of iron. Animal is a phenomenal source, but plants are really good too. The last time I had a blood test done at like the age of 53, my iron levels for a male were above 100%. And part of the reason is I eat a lot of whole grain cereals. They are a fundamentally awesome source of iron. Again, for the apocalypse, plan your cereal appropriately. I mean, look at turkey. How does turkey even compare to total? Total's awesome. So let go of the whole meat centric approach to iron. There's plenty of iron out there in plant material. You just have to eat it. Deficiency, the most common symptom of iron deficiency is anemia. You will make, if you have iron deficiency anemia, less red blood cells, smaller red blood cells, and paler. They will have less color. Microcytic, smaller. Remember, folate was macrocytic, larger. So iron is microcytic and hypochromic. They have less color. For those who have iron toxicity, which is typically genetic, that's called hemochromatosis. Those folks have a darker colored red blood cell, and so their blood is actually darker. By the way, the way you treat hemochromatosis typically is to donate blood more often and just lower your blood pool, if you will, and that's how you're donating. You're donating iron out of the body by donating blood. So anemia is the big one. Having changes in your skin color. If you can't carry oxygen, you're going to be exhausted. We know in athletes, women are far more likely to have anemia than men. Younger women are far more likely to have anemia than anybody else. Childbearing age, menstrual cycle, iron loss on a monthly basis, right? Via red blood cells. So if you're a female athlete, you should absolutely be tested for anemia. Because if you have fatigue or lethargy, even minimally, you can barely tell that you're a little bit tired or exhausted. That's going to play out on the soccer pitch. That's going to play out on the basketball court. That's going to play out when you go to do a run. So you want to make sure you're treating your anemia. We know for pregnant women, we recommend tremendous doses of iron, more than you would think is possible from diet, because it's so important in pregnancy to make sure a woman can make enough red blood cells. It is a global deficiency. When you go around the world and you find iron deficiency, it's typically poorer countries, still going through an industrial process. There may not be stable government. In kids, iron deficiency may not just cause anemia. It causes learning disorders, cognitive disorders, behavior disorders. It lowers immunity. It has all sorts of impacts on their health. The most susceptible people on the planet tend to be the ones most likely to have iron deficiency. It's a tremendous truth and a sadness, but that's the way it is. Other than water, it's probably the most challenging nutrient we have globally. And that's it for iron, and that's it for this video.